I slid into the back row, notebook open, heart thumping like I'd sprinted the campus quad. Professor Kara had this present sigh. Couldn't describe it. Not exactly, but the room felt different the second she stepped in. Everyone went quiet, like we all knew something about her we weren't supposed to say good morning. "Everyone," she said, voice smooth, almost musical. Her eyes scanned the room, and I swear they lingered on me a second too long. My stomach flipped. "Good morning, Professor," a chorus of voices answered. I scribbled notes, trying not to stare. She had a smile that felt warm but dangerous, like it could swallow me whole if I let it. "Today," she continued, "I want to see originality. Show me the thoughts you haven't shared with anyone else." She leaned on the podium, chin resting on her hand, and her gaze drifted toward my notebook. "Ah, I see some of you are already thinking too cautiously." I felt my cheeks heat up when she said, and I have to say, her eyes were on me now, sharp but oddly approving. "Your approach, Alex, is refreshing. Keep it up." "Thank you, Professor," I stammered, glancing at my classmates. A few snickers, a few raised eyebrows. Why me? I wondered later during a break. One of my classmates nudged me. "Hey, she really likes you, huh? I mean, that compliment's so public. Weird, though." I don't know," I said, flipping my pen nervously. It felt different. Not just a compliment. Something else? "You think so?" They shrugged. "I'd be careful if I were you. She's intense." I laughed it off, but the words gnawed at me. That evening, I found a note tucked into my assignment. Interesting perspective. "Let's discuss this further tomorrow." I stared at it. No signature. No one around seemed suspicious. I folded it carefully, heart racing. The next day, she called on me first. "Alex, expand on your idea from yesterday," she said. Her tone wasn't just teaching. It was like she was pulling me forward, quietly daring me to rise. I cleared my throat. I think it's important to consider personal bias, even in scientific observation." My words stumbled out, but she nodded slowly, eyes never leaving mine. "Exactly," she said softly. "You notice the small details others overlook. That's rare." Her smile was sharp this time, a flicker of something unreadable. Classmates whispered as I returned to my seat. Rarer than rare, I thought, but my mind was already spinning. She praised me in front of everyone, yet there was something private hidden behind her smile. Something only I was supposed to feel. After class, I lingered, pretending to review notes. "Professor Kara?" I called gently. "Yes, Alex?" Her head tilted, hair brushing her shoulders. I had this sudden urge to tell her I wasn't sure I understood her attention. Thank you for the feedback yesterday. It really helped me think differently." She studied me, eyes sharp and calculating. "I'm glad you noticed. But remember, not all attention is harmless." Her lips curved into that strange, knowing smile. "Some observations are meant only for those who can truly see." My chest tightened. I laughed nervously. I'll keep that in mind. As I left, I caught myself glancing back. She was watching me. Not like a teacher watching a student, like someone invested. That night, I sat at my desk, turning over the day in my head. Notes tucked into my assignments, lingering glances. The way she singled me out every detail felt deliberate. My brain refused to let it go. Was it admiration? Obsession? Or something darker I couldn't yet name? I shoved the thought aside, telling myself I was overthinking. Still, a shiver ran down my spine as I scribbled in my journal. She notices me. Too much. But why? Somewhere deep down, part of me didn't want to know the answer. CHP 2, I hadn't expected to see her outside class, but there she was in the library, leaning over a table, flipping through papers. I froze when our eyes met. She smiled that same unsettling smile. "Alex," she said softly, voice low enough for no one else to hear. "I didn't expect you here." Needed a quiet place to study," I muttered, trying to sound casual. Her gaze dropped to her wrist as she adjusted her sleeve, and that's when I saw it. My name looks tattooed in elegant, precise letters, ink, dark and unmistakable. I blinked. You have my name on your wrist? She looked up, calm, as if my question were obvious. Do you like it? Like it? I don't know, I stammered, my stomach twisting. Why? Why would you? Her eyes sharpened. It's a reminder. Something permanent for someone unforgettable. Her lips curved into that same chilling smile. Do you think I need permission for something so personal? I swallowed hard. I don't understand. She leaned back, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. You'll understand, eventually. Or maybe you won't. Some truths are meant to be felt, not spoken. I couldn't speak. My mind spun with confusion, fascination, and a deep, creeping fear. I wanted to run, but my legs refused. The next day, class started like any other, except the air felt heavier. My notebook trembled in my hands. Alex, Kara said sharply, pointing at my page. This analysis. Predictable. I expected more insight. Did you even think about what you wrote? I flushed. I thought it was thorough. Thorough isn't enough. Thorough is safe. Safe is boring. Are you really trying, or are you wasting my time? Her eyes drilled into me, a mixture of challenge and mockery. A few classmates snickered. One whispered, "Wow, she's really on your case." I am trying, I said, voice tight, cheeks burning. Clearly, she said with a soft laugh that didn't reach her eyes. But trying isn't always enough, Alex. Do you want me to guide you, or are you too proud? I wanted to ask why she seemed obsessed with me, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I nodded quickly. Yes, Professor. I want to improve? She smiled sweet this time, almost maternal. Good. Improvement requires humility. You'll need it more than you think. During the break, a classmate approached. Hey, are you okay? She really tore you apart back there. I'm fine, I muttered, flipping through my notebook to hide my shaking hands. I don't understand her sometimes. Her attention, it's confusing. They frowned. Confusing? Man, it's more than confusing. She's scary. I shook my head. No, it's not that. It's personal. I don't know why, but it feels like she notices everything about me. Even things I don't notice myself. Another snicker from the back of the room. Dude, she's weirdly obsessed with you. And she just humiliated you to prove it. I wanted to argue, to tell them they didn't understand, but I couldn't. They were right. Humiliation, mixed with attention, it was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. Later, I tried to talk to her privately. Professor Kara. About yesterday. She looked at me with that unreadable expression. About your performance? Yes, I mean, the way you corrected me in class, it felt personal. She tilted her head. Correction is personal when the person matters. Don't you think you deserve personal attention if you're capable of more? I nodded slowly, unsure if I should feel comforted or threatened. I want to be capable, you will be, she said softly, but there was a glint in her eyes that made me shiver. If you survive me. Her words lingered like a shadow as I left the classroom. My heart pounded, not just from fear, but from a strange curiosity I didn't want to admit. That evening, I stared at my notebook, recalling every glance, every note, every word. Tattooed names, subtle mockery. Sharp praised eye, couldn't tell if she was protecting me or trapping me. I whispered to myself, voice shaky. Why am I so drawn to this? To her, this doesn't feel normal. It shouldn't feel normal. And yet, despite the fear curling in my stomach, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Couldn't stop noticing. Couldn't stop wanting to understand. I realized with a shiver that I was already in too deep. I thought I could trust Jake. We'd shared notes, jokes, and late-night library sessions. So when I pulled him aside after class, notebook clutched in my hands, I felt safe. Jake, I need to tell you something, I whispered, voice low. But you can't tell anyone. Not a soul. No. He leaned closer, smirking. Relax, Alex. You know me. What's going on? I hesitated, heart thumping. It's about Professor Kara? I saw. She has a tattoo. My name. On her wrist, Jake froze, eyes wide. Wait, seriously? Yes, and I don't know if it's normal or safe. My voice trembled. I just needed someone to talk to. He nodded slowly.
That's...
Wow. Yeah, okay. I get it. But his voice dropped, conspiratorial. Alex, this is huge. You have to be careful, who knows. Seriously. I know, I said quickly. That's why I'm telling you. Please, Jake, you can't tell anyone. He smiled reassuringly, or so I thought. I won't. I promise. By the next morning, I felt a shift. Whispers followed me through the hallways, quiet snickers echoing behind closed doors. Hey, Alex. Nice tattoo story. What's the deal with Kara and you, huh? Your professor's obsessed? That's crazy, man. My stomach sank. I spun around, searching for familiar faces, and I caught Jake across the room, pretending to read his notes but smirking at me. I stormed over. Jake, did you? He raised his hands, eyes innocent. Whoa, calm down. I didn't say anything. I swear. Then why? Why is everyone whispering? I asked, voice shaking. I don't know, he said, looking genuinely confused. Maybe they heard from someone else. I narrowed my eyes. You promised me. I did. I really did. His voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to get around. People just talk, Alex. You know how it is. Wanted to believe him. But the mocking stares, the smirks, the barely disguised laughter, couldn't. During class, Kara's eyes found mine as she handed back our graded papers. A flicker of amusement crossed her face, just a flicker but enough to make my chest tighten. Alex, she said, voice casual. Perhaps you can explain this analysis in front of the class. I'm sure everyone is curious how your unique perspective manifests. I felt the heat rise in my face. I fumbled for words, trying to sound confident, but every eye on me felt like a weight. Go on, she urged softly. Don't be shy. I swallowed hard. I think the data shows that a snicker from the back interrupted me. She's obsessed with him, right? My heart slammed. I glanced around. Classmates were exchanging knowing glances. Whispers slid through the rows like knives. Obvious, isn't it? Someone muttered. I clenched my fists under the desk, gripping my notebook so hard my knuckles whitened. My mind raced. How did she know? How did this happen? I had trusted Jake. Trusted someone to be a shield, not a weapon. After class, I cornered him by the lockers. Jake, tell me the truth. He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Alex, okay? Yeah, I told a few people. I thought maybe it'd be funny. They didn't take it seriously funny. I hissed. Do you know what you've done? Do you know what she... He looked down, guilt flashing in his eyes. I didn't know it would blow up like this. I swear. You promised. My voice cracked, the betrayal cutting deeper than humiliation ever could. You promised me. He couldn't finish. Walking away, my chest burned, my hands shook. I felt exposed, like the world had stripped me bare. Kara, meanwhile, returned to her desk, serene. Eyes glinting ever so slightly, as if she already knew the chaos. I tried to focus. But the whispers followed me through the hallways all day. Alex, tattoo guy, obsessed much? Did she draw that herself? I wanted to scream, to confront Kara, to confront Jake, to make it stop, but no words came. All I could feel was the heat in my face, the prickling shame, and the sharp edge of anger that settled in my chest. That night, I sat in my room, staring at the ceiling. Jake had betrayed me, yes, but Kara, she had orchestrated this too. Every look, every note, every subtle correction it had all been building to this. I whispered to myself, voice low and trembling. I can't let this continue. I won't be her pawn. The thought of revenge, quiet and insistent, curled around me like fire. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about fear or fascination anymore. This was about taking control. Before she or anyone else took me apart completely. CHP, for I spent the morning in the library, tucked in a corner where I could see her classroom across the quad. Professor Kara moved with that flawless, effortless presence, smiling at students, nodding at their answers, completely untouchable in public. And yet I knew better. She's perfect out there, I whispered to myself, voice low. But perfect doesn't mean harmless. I watched her pause by a student's desk, lean in just slightly too close to be casual, and correct their notes with a finger grazing their paper. My chest tightened. That look, that touch, it was precise, deliberate. I made a note in my journal. Control disguised as guidance. A voice interrupted me. Hey Alex, are you okay? You've been staring at that window all morning. I jumped, snapping my notebook shut. It was Clara from my statistics class. She had a warm smile, the kind that didn't hide anything. Oh, hey Clara. Yeah, I'm fine. Sure. She pressed, tilting her head. You look tense. I hesitated, then said, It's complicated. Professor Kara. My hands twisted the pen nervously. Clara frowned. Ah, I get it. That class can be intense. Intense. That's one way to put it, I muttered. She's different. Hard to read. I feel like she's always watching me, even when I think she isn't. Clara's eyes softened. Sounds exhausting. It is, I admitted. But I can't stop noticing. I keep seeing patterns, how she favors some students, subtly humiliates others. Even me, sometimes. Clara leaned closer, whispering, then maybe. Don't let her control how you feel. Just keep your head down, but don't let her get inside your mind. I nodded slowly, grateful, but also anxious. Her advice was simple, but what I needed was a strategy. I had to understand Kara completely or I'd never regain control. Later in class, she called on me again. Alex, tell us your thoughts on the last assignment. I took a deep breath. I think the conclusions were valid, but limited. There's room for interpretation that goes beyond the surface. She tilted her head, eyes sharp. Beyond the surface. Interesting, she smiled. That small, unsettling curl of her lips. I like when someone notices what others don't. I swallowed hard. She notices me noticing her, I realized. The paranoia prickled at my skin. Every word, every glance, it was all calculated. After class, I stayed behind, pretending to review my notes. She approached, voice soft. Alex, you're becoming more perceptive. I tried to meet her gaze. I'm learning, trying to see more. Good, she said, nodding. But perception alone isn't enough. Observation is what matters. Can you observe? Truly? I shivered. I think so, Professor. Think. She echoed, and for a moment, I felt small, exposed. You'll need certainty, or someone like me will decide it for you. Her words lingered, but I forced myself to breathe. I can watch. I can learn. I can survive this. That evening, I returned to my corner of the library, reviewing my notes. Every gesture she made, every expression, every tiny correction, I cataloged them, trying to discern patterns. The more I watched, the more I realized she wasn't just teaching. She was controlling. Every compliment, every critique, every glance, Sid had intent. A student passed by, accidentally knocking into my notebook. Oh, sorry, Alex, they said quickly. It's fine, I muttered, startled. The boy paused. Hey, don't let her freak you out too much. She's intense. Yeah, but you seem like you've got a handle on things. I blinked. Thanks, that actually helps. He smiled and walked away. And for the first time that day, I felt a thread of relief. Not much, but enough to remind me that the world outside her shadow still existed. I closed my notebook, resting my head on my arms. Fear, fascination, anger, they all tangled inside me. I realized I had a choice. I could stay terrified, swallowed by her influence, or I could start planning. I whispered to myself, voice low but determined. I'll watch. I'll learn. And I won't be caught unprepared again. It was the first time I felt like I wasn't just a victim. It was the first time I felt like I could fight back. And somehow, even as my heart raced, couldn't stop thinking about her, the tattoos, the attention, the power. Fear and curiosity coiled together, tighter than ever. I knew one thing for certain. I had to understand her completely, or I'd never survive the next move she made. I sat at my usual corner in the library, watching the chaos unfold in class. Kara moved through the room like a storm disguised as calm. Every glance she threw my way felt like a test, every word a blade. I realized something then: if I didn't act, I'd be trapped here forever. Alex, you look distracted today, Kara said, sliding past my desk. Her voice was soft, teasing, but there was an edge. I'm just thinking, Professor, I said, keeping my tone humble. Thinking is good, she said, tilting her head. But be careful. Thoughts are dangerous when they wander where they shouldn't. I forced a nod, heart pounding. Dangerous? No, she's not controlling me, not yet. But soon, maybe. I can't let her decide my world anymore. After class, a few of the usual classmates lingered near my desk. Hey, Alex. Heard your little tattoo story got more attention yesterday.
One sneered.
I cut him off, voice firmer than I expected. You're wrong. I'm not embarrassed. It's not a story, it's reality. And I won't let rumors control me. They laughed, but something shifted. Their smirks faltered. I swallowed, keeping my composure. You're brave, I guess, another muttered. I'm done being quiet, I said quietly, but intentionally loud enough to carry. You can talk if you want, but I won't react the way you expect anymore. Their laughter faltered into uneasy chuckles. I sat back, letting the silence linger. It felt good, powerful even. Later, I found Kara in her office, pretending to review papers. Alex, come in, she said, looking up with that smile that always made me tense. Yes, Professor, I asked, keeping my voice steady. Interesting work in class today, she said lightly. But your tone, different. Confident, perhaps? I forced a small shrug. I'm trying to focus on my work, not the outside noise. Her gaze narrowed, sharp but playful. Outside noise. Are you telling me I'm outside noise now? I met her eyes, holding my ground. Not you, Professor, just everything else, she smiled, almost approvingly. Good, you're learning. But remember, control comes in subtleties. Are you ready for subtleties, Alex? I am, I said, quietly but decisively. Yes, I am. And I'm watching 2. Over the next few days, I began documenting everything. Notes in class, corrections she made, small gestures of favoritism, moments when she humiliated someone else. I recorded dates, phrases, even glances. I kept my voice calm in public, nodding to her critiques, answering politely. But in private, I was building a map, a blueprint of her control. During lunch, one of the antagonist peers tried to corner me. Alex, why do you always look so serious? Relax, will you? I am relaxed, I said, a little sharper than I intended. But you seem focused on making me uncomfortable. Why is that? He blinked. What? I notice everything, I said, voice low but firm. And I won't react the way you expect anymore. If you want to humiliate me, you'll need more than whispers and snickers. He backed off, muttering under his breath. I felt a small thrill. The shift had begun. That afternoon, Kara stopped me in the hall. Alex, you're different today, she said, tilting her head. Calm yet aware, I kept my tone measured. I'm just paying attention, Professor. Like you said, observation matters. Her smile twitched, a tiny flash of something unreadable. Observation. Yes, but beware. Observers often find themselves exposed before they even notice it. I nodded, though my mind raced. Exposed? Maybe, but I'll decide when and how. Back in my room that evening, I flipped through my journal. Every note, every correction, every subtle humiliation recorded. My hands shook slightly, not from fear this time, but from anticipation. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was calculating, learning, preparing. I whispered to myself, voice low but steady, I'll watch. I'll wait. And when the time comes, I'll choose how this ends. Not her. Not anyone. I allowed myself a brief smile, the first in days that wasn't laced with anxiety. It felt like a promise to myself, to my mind, to my survival, even as I traced the lines of my notes. Thinking about Kara, the tattoos, the glances, in the classroom eyes, I realized something terrifyingly exhilarating. I was no longer afraid of being noticed. I wanted it. I craved the understanding of her obsession, and I knew I could turn it to my advantage. This is the start, I told myself. The turning point. From now on, I make the rules. CHP.6, I waited until the hall was mostly empty before. I slipped the note into the stack of graded papers on Kara's desk. My hands trembled not from fear, but from anticipation. Alex, what are you doing back here? Kara's voice was sudden, sharp, yet curious. I turned slowly. Just tidying up, Professor. Making sure your papers are in order. Her eyes narrowed. I see. Always. Thorough, aren't you? Yes, Professor. I like to. Help where I can, I said, keeping my tone deferential but steady. She doesn't need to suspect yet. Patience. Her lips twitched, and she leaned over my shoulder. Interesting handwriting? Yours? I forced a small laugh. Possibly. I didn't realize it mattered. She pulled back, smiling faintly. Everything matters, Alex. Even the smallest details. Later in class, I noticed the whispers before I even sat down. Did you see that? She's obsessed, right? That note. Wow. I smirked quietly. My carefully planted note had found its way into the wrong hands, exactly as planned. The murmurs grew louder, and Kara's serene facade wavered for the first time in weeks. During the discussion, she called on me. Alex, elaborate on your analysis of the last paper. I raised an eyebrow. Of course, Professor. I walked to the front and laid out my points clearly, deliberately punctuating them with small hints referencing the rumors she'd worked to keep hidden. Her expression flickered annoyance, confusion, then recovery. Very detailed, she said carefully, voice controlled. Well done, Alex. I nodded slightly, hiding my satisfaction. She's rattled. I can see it. I just have to keep this going. Between classes, Clara, the student who had offered support before, tapped me on the shoulder. Alex, someone's been leaving notes in Kara's office, right? That you did? I hesitated, then nodded subtly. Yes, but it's not malicious, just perspective. Claire's eyes widened. Perspective. Alex, be careful. If anyone finds out it's you, it could backfire. I said softly. But it's the only way I need. Control of the narrative. She gave a small nod and a reassuring smile. All right, just watch your back. As the day went on, I continued planting little evidence around the classroom, an annotated paper with marginal comments she had made. A subtle message on a whiteboard where she had lingered, even a shadow of a folded note in her office. Each placement calculated to catch the right eyes. During lunch, one of the peers who had tried to humiliate me last week leaned over. Hey, Alex. Everything okay? I looked up from my notebook, pretending distraction. Better than okay? You might even say, I'm thriving. God. Caught off guard. Thriving? Yes, I said, voice calm, deliberate. Thriving despite challenges. He backed off, unsure, and I felt a small thrill. Subtle power, it tasted sweet. Later, Kara stopped me in the hallway again. Alex, everything seems different today. You walk differently? Speak differently? What are you hiding? I smiled faintly. Nothing, Professor. Just learning how to navigate your class more efficiently. She tilted her head, watching me, eyes sharp. Efficient. But don't think I don't notice the subtleties, Alex. The hints you leave. They're like breadcrumbs. I met her gaze evenly. Breadcrumbs can be followed or ignored, Professor. It depends who's paying attention. Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile, but I could see the tension beneath. I had planted the seeds, now I just needed them to grow. That night I reviewed my notes. Every planted clue, every whispered rumor, every reaction from classmates cataloged and analyzed. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Satisfaction, yes, but also guilt. Was this manipulation too far? Too calculated? I shook my head. No, I can't let fear rule me. She's been controlling me for months. I'm only reclaiming what she tried to take. I considered Jake Tootha, friend who betrayed me. Maybe he could still be useful. I could use him, discreetly, to spread controlled information, to test reactions. Or he could sabotage me if I let him. I made a mental note. Approach carefully. Trust strategically. The thrill of planning, the careful orchestration of events, it was intoxicating. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to her actions. I was dictating the tempo, deciding the narrative. I whispered to myself almost reverently, "This is only the beginning. She won't see it coming." Not yet, but she will. And even as a flicker of fear crawled up my spine, I welcomed it. The adrenaline, the danger, reminded me that I was alive, that I was in control, or at least starting to be. I closed my notebook, heart pounding with both excitement and trepidation. Each step I took was precise, each move calculated. Subtle revenge wasn't about chaos. It was about strategy, patience, and timing. Tomorrow, I'd plant more evidence. And the day after, the unraveling would begin. She may have thought she controlled me. She was wrong. I waited until the classroom emptied, the echoes of chairs scraping across the floor fading into silence. My notebook was in my hand, every piece of evidence meticulously organized. I took a deep breath. This ends tonight. No more fear, Professor Kara, I said, stepping into the center of the room. My voice sounded louder than I expected. We need to talk. Her head lifted, eyes bright, calm, almost amused. Alex, what a surprise. You look serious, and I like serious. Tell me what's on your mind. I know about your obsession, I said, holding up my notebook. I know what you've been doing, the tattoos, the manipulations, the subtle humiliations. I have proof, and I'm not afraid anymore. She tilted her head, a small smile playing at her lips. Proof, oh Alex. Do you really think you understand me? That you can trap me with pieces of paper? I understand enough, I said, voice steady. Enough to stop you from controlling me or anyone else. Her eyes flashed, sharp and dangerous. Stop me, Alex? I created the environment you're in. Every word you wrote, every glance you noticed, it's because I allowed it. Do you really think you can undo it? I don't have to undo it, I said, leaning closer. I just have to show it. Her calm faltered for a fraction of a second, and I seized it. These notes, I said, flipping through my pages. Every whispered comment, every subtle favor, every humiliation, documented. And your tattoo. I held the page toward her. Public evidence of obsession. People need to know the truth. Ada's smile stiffened. You? You're brave, Alex? Or foolish? Perhaps both. I'm not brave, I said firmly. I'm done being your victim. She leaned back, voice soft but cold. Done? You think this is the end? You think a few notes and whispers can erase what's been built over months? Over years. Maybe not, I admitted, but it's enough to stop you from hurting anyone else. Her eyes darkened. Hurt anyone else? Alex, I never wanted to hurt you, only to notice you. To shape you, shook my head, anger rising. Shape me. You humiliated me, isolated me, controlled my classmates' perceptions of me. You're not shaping. You're abusing Her smile twisted into something dangerous, almost manic. Abuse? You call it abuse? No, you call it fear. And fear is respect, Alex. You'll understand someday. Not today? I said, flipping to a page with a collage of her handwritten notes. Small gestures she had made, every subtle cruelty exposed. These are all witnessed. These are all recorded. Your control is gone, and everyone will see it. Suddenly, the door opened. Clara, Jake, and several other classmates walked in, eyes wide but supportive. Alex told us everything, Clara said softly, stepping forward. We saw the evidence. We understand now. Kara froze, scanning the room, the students' expressions, the notebooks on my desk. You brought witnesses. Yes, I said calmly. Because your reputation was built on fear. And fear needs an audience to survive. Her composure cracked. Audience. Yes, but fear. Fear cannot be contained forever. You cannot understand me, Alex? I understand enough, I said, voice firm, unflinching. I understand that obsession doesn't excuse cruelty. That control doesn't equal care. And that your games are over. She stepped forward, eyes blazing, but no words came. For once, her charm couldn't mask the raw imbalance beneath. Professor, I said, taking a small step closer, people have seen your manipulations, your favoritism, your humiliations. Everyone will know. And I'm free from it. Her lips parted, a whisper of fury. You think freedom is yours alone. Alex, you can't escape me. I don't need to escape you anymore, I said, voice low but resolute. Because the world can see you now. And you'll answer for every subtle cruelty you inflicted. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Then Kara's shoulders slumped, the mask of charm slipping, revealing the chaos beneath. Her eyes flickered across the classroom, students staring, notebooks open, evidence undeniable. Finally, she spoke, softer, almost a whisper. You've outmaneuvered me. Yes, I said simply. And it's over. I looked around the room, faces supportive, witnesses to my triumph. The fear, the fascination, the humiliation, they had all transformed into clarity. Confidence and control? Clara smiled, whispering, You did it, Alex. You're free. I nodded, feeling the weight lift from my chest. Free, I repeated, savoring the word. Finally, Kaira looked at me one last time. Her eyes a mix of rage and disbelief before retreating toward her office. The classroom felt lighter, the tension gone. I closed my notebook and took a deep breath. This is the end, I whispered to myself. Not just for her, but for me. I'm not her pawn. I'm not anyone's victim, and I never will be again. For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride, clarity, and the quiet satisfaction of survival. And I knew, no matter what, I had 1.chp.8. I walked through the campus, the air feeling lighter, almost foreign. For months, Kara had overshadowed everything, every glance, every comment, every assignment. Now, the silence she left behind felt oddly empty, Alex. Clara waved from the courtyard, her smile genuine. You okay? You look different. I feel different, I admitted, letting the words escape slowly. I think I'm finally free, she nodded. I can't imagine how hard it must have been. It was, I said, voice low. But it's over now. I didn't think I'd ever feel normal again. Clara tilted her head. Normal or stronger? I laughed softly. Stronger. Definitely stronger. I see things I never noticed before. I feel in control of my own life for the first time. You earned that, she said quietly. Not just from what you did with Kara, but how you survived it. I shook my head. I can't say I handled everything perfectly, but I learned, and surviving. It changed me. Later, I sat with Jake and a few other classmates who had witnessed everything. It's strange, I said. For months, I felt trapped, watched, terrified. And now, it's like the fear never existed. But at the same time, what? Jake asked, his expression cautious. I can still feel the tension in my chest, I admitted. A shadow of what happened. I think obsession leaves marks, even when it's over. One of the other students, hesitant but honest, said, maybe that's why it feels real. You survived something extreme. That doesn't just disappear, I said. And I can't forget entirely, but I can move forward. Back in my dorm, I opened my notebook one last time. Among my detailed observations, I found a folded letter, unmistakably Kara's handwriting. I hesitated, then unfolded it. Alex, it read, I see now that obsession can't be contained, even in someone I thought I understood. You were always more perceptive than I realized. I let my desires cloud reason. I can only hope that somehow you forgive my mistakes, or at least that you live freely. My chest tightened. A strange mixture of relief and unease washed over me. Relief that she finally acknowledged reality. Unease that part of her obsession remained. Simmering quietly, I whispered to myself, voice soft, she may still watch. In her own way, but I'm not afraid. Not anymore. That evening, I met Clara for coffee. Do you think people like her? Ever change? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly. Some do, maybe. Some can't, and it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what I've learned. I know my own boundaries, my own strength.
She smiled.
And you've grown. Fear became insight, hesitation became strategy, and trauma became resilience. I nodded, letting her words sink in. Yeah, and I'll carry the scars, sure. But they remind me I survived. That I can trust myself. That I'm not powerless anymore. Clara raised her cup. To surviving and to being stronger than anyone thought we could be. To surviving, I echoed, feeling a quiet pride. Later, alone. I looked out my window at the campus lights, shadows stretching long and soft. The night felt calm, almost forgiving. I thought of Kara, of her obsession, her regrets, her manipulations, and I allowed myself a final acknowledgement. Goodbye, I whispered. Not because I forgive, but because I choose to move forward. And this time, I'm choosing myself. I closed the notebook, a gentle smile tugging at my lips. Fear had once dictated my every thought, every action. Obsession had nearly consumed me. But now, I had reclaimed my life, and even if the echoes of her presence lingered somewhere, faint and unreachable, I knew this. I was no longer a pawn. I was free, wise, and capable of facing whatever came next. The scars remained, yes, but they were mine, and I bore them with strength. I stepped onto campus, the morning sunlight warm on my face. The fear that had clung to me for months was gone, replaced by a steady, quiet confidence. I inhaled deeply. This is my life now, Alex. Hey, Clara waved from across the quad. I jogged over, smiling. You look different, she said, tilting her head. Stronger, I hope, I replied. And free. Free sounds good, she said, laughing softly. You've earned it. I did, I admitted, voice calm. And I'm finally letting myself. Enjoy it. We walked together, talking about classes, plans, small victories. For the first time, conversations didn't feel like survival exercises. They were just life, ordinary and comforting. Later, I ran into Jake. Alex, he said, hesitating. I just wanted to say, I'm glad you're okay, and that you came out on top. I'm okay, I said, meeting his eyes. And I'm more than okay, actually. I've learned a lot. About myself, about everything. You've changed, he said, nodding slowly. For the better. I hope so, I replied. But I know I'll always carry the lessons. And the scars? That evening, I returned to my dorm, the space quiet and familiar. My gaze landed on the notebook where I had tracked Kara's manipulations. I ran my fingers over it, the pages full of strategy, notes, and evidence. It served its purpose, I whispered, but it doesn't need to control me anymore. I closed the notebook carefully, sliding it into the bottom drawer. The gesture felt symbolic, letting go of the weight of fear, of obsession, of the past. Clara stopped by unexpectedly, holding 2 mugs of tea. "Thought you might need a break," she said. "Perfect timing," I said, smiling. "I think I've earned it." We sat together, sipping quietly. "You know," she said softly, "it's okay to feel." Conflicted. Relief? Maybe a little guilt. "It's all normal." "I know," I admitted. "But I also know I survived, and I'm stronger because of it. I can face whatever comes next without letting anyone control me again." Clara nodded, eyes warm. "Exactly. And that's the important part. You've reclaimed your life, Alex. Don't let anyone take it back." I smiled, letting the words sink in. "I won't. And I won't forget. But I won't be haunted either. Not anymore." Later, I held a pen in my hand, hovering over my wrist, the memory of Kara's obsession once marked there by that tattoo image. Slowly, I drew a small line, erasing the thought symbolically. It wasn't about revenge or resentment. It was about ownership, about reclaiming myself. "Done," I whispered, exhaling slowly. A lightness settled over me, a quiet closure that didn't erase the past, but made it manageable, survivable. I leaned back, looking out the window at the campus lights turning on, soft and steady. Kara's shadow lingered somewhere, but it no longer controlled me. I had my friends, my life, my voice, and for the first time, I felt truly free. "Here's to moving on," I murmured, a small, satisfied smile tugging at my lips. Not forgetting, not forgiving entirely, but living fully on it, and on my own terms. And in that moment, I knew I had won not against her exactly, but against fear itself.